Good afternoon, everyone, to the Sabi Sands Djuma Private Game Reserve. You are out on safari with Sam Chevalier and Bryan. Rebecca will be directing us through this great experience in the savannah this afternoon. And in front of us, we have the iconic giraffe. So we have a giraffe that will be walking just into frame in a couple of seconds now. And this is the first time I'm seeing giraffe for a while, purely because it's just been quite, well, I haven't seen much giraffe or zebra lately. So it's nice to see two big giraffe. One is quite clearly a male, and the other is quite clearly a small little giraffe, and one is a female to the right there. So let's have a look at the one to the left quickly. And if we have a look at this, what seems to be a male, the reason why I'm saying it's a male is because of the horns that are on top. And the horns on top, what do they indicate? I can't see. Let's have a look in the binoculars. So the difference that we can tell between a female and a male is the way in which the ossicones on top are furry. But in that white light behind, I can't quite see if that is a rounded top because of the fighting male, or if it's got longer fluffy hair. Can you see, Bryan? So from this distance, I'm going to say that is going to be for some reason I think it's a female now, because I think I can see a, ooh, we've got some oxpeckers that have just joined the party. Good afternoon, oxpeckers. Welcome to SafariLIVE. Well observed, Moira Hart. It is quite odd seeing a giraffe lying down. And, ooh, look at the interaction between that young one and the female. That was cool. She's up. Gee, that's a tough, well done. Can you see how it is not easy for that giraffe to get up? It's very cool to see that. She is a very, very big female. She's also got beautiful coloration. She's quite dark. Hold on 1 second. That's a male. That is a male. So I can quite clearly see that that's a male now, because of the ossicones on top that are not fluffy and as if they haven't been, or they have been fighting. So now we can quite clearly see that that's a male. So it's apparent that we do see these giraffes quite often, and that this is the male. And because, what's also interesting is it was a darker colored male, and males tend to have darker coloration compared to the females. And it's noted that this large male likes to follow that female around. But have a look at this sweet little giraffe here. I'd say that's a little female. So cool seeing the young. Welcome, Creed Elementary and Mrs. Denny. It's a beautiful afternoon to be out here in the Sabi Sands with you kids. We're looking forward to this beautiful experience. So the youngster also seems to have some oxpeckers on her back, a little one that's jumping down, and what that oxpecker will be doing is looking for any parasites that'll be lurking around that body. And what's really, really cool about how an elder female will look after a youngster is often when they go into the big, thick areas, she will leave the young giraffe in the thicket before she opens up into the big areas, just to check for any predators, and then she comes back, collects her little youngster, and then goes out into the open areas. So giraffes are extremely intelligent. Livy's asking, what type of Africa are we in? Livy, we are in the Sabi Sands, which is a 60,000 hectare property just on the borders of Kruger National Park. We are open to the Kruger National Park, and it's in the northeastern side of South Africa. So if you have a look at a map in South Africa, look for the very, very northeastern side, and that's where you'll be seeing this wonderful male giraffe that is standing before us this afternoon. And look at how tall this giraffe is, and the skull, a big skull. You can see how big their heads are. And apparently they have 7 vertebrae. So, you know, we in our necks also have 7 vertebrae. So all mammals have 7 vertebrae. I would have thought that all giraffes have way more. I mean, just looking at that neck, you can kind of, it just looks like there could be so many different bones and vertebrae in there, but they have exactly the same as humans, 7 vertebrae. Extremely interesting. So it's an exceptionally hot day here in the Sabi Sands, and they were just sitting under this tree here, so they were collecting some shade, relaxing in the heat of the day, and now they're going to go and walk and browse on the different trees to collect the nutrients they need for the rest of their day and into the night. They will still feed both day and night. How exciting to spend our first few minutes with a giraffe. See if we can see. Oh, there's the small one again. We can see her. So Desiree is asking, how tall can giraffe get? They can get up to 19.1 feet, Desiree. That's one of the biggest sizes you can get of a giraffe. How tall are you, Desiree? Because try and measure yourself against that height, and then you can kind of see how big a giraffe is, one of the biggest mammals, tallest mammals in the African savanna. Okay, you can see that giraffe in the distance there looks like she's almost a tree herself, with eyes and being able to see everything that's around her. So other animals like to spend time with the giraffe because it's an extra set of eyes that are quite high up, so she is able to see all the different predators around her, much easier than some of the other predators, or more so than other mammals that are on the ground. But it's very cool to see a young giraffe with her family. I wonder how tall this little giraffe is. It must be around 3 to 5 feet. But while we sit here with the giraffe, we're going to go and see how Mr. James Hendry's doing with his afternoon safari.
Followed. Hello everybody, Mrs. Benny's class specifically. My name is James. On camera we've got Dave, and the same thing applies to everything that Sam has told you. You're live on a safari with us in the northeast corner of South Africa, and it's very wonderful to have you along for our little trip. We are driving along this road trying to see if we can't find a leopard, because somebody said they saw one a little bit earlier. Now, a leopard, of course, is one of the most special cats that we have out here. Very big cat with golden fur and black spots. So that's what we're trying to find right now, and that's why we're driving very slowly. So what I want you all to do is to look into the tops of the trees as we go past here, because what these leopards do is if they kill something to eat, if they find themselves a nice juicy piece of meat, they'll put it up into a tree so that the hyenas can't steal it from them, and nor can the lions. So that's why we're driving up this road looking very slowly into the tops of the trees. Anyway, while we're doing that, we'll find some other interesting things, hopefully, as well. Lots of different animals that we have here. You had a wonderful start with Sam and his giraffe. So any other questions you have, if you've got questions about giraffe or anything else you might want to see out here or things you might see out here, send them through and I'll do my very best to answer them. Now, just watching the road to see if there are any tracks. Remember that an animal, when it walks along just like a human being, think of yourself walking along the beach, you will leave signs, you will leave footprints of yourself. So an animal does the same thing. But of course, something like a leopard is like a big dog, so it's not very heavy and doesn't leave very big marks. So we need to watch the road very carefully. And also, if you can just imagine it, imagine a wind in your face right now, a hot wind. There's a wind blowing now, and that wind shows us that we need to be very careful looking for the tracks here. All right, while I look for the leopard, let's go back to the giraffe with Sam.
We are back with the giraffe over here. And what's interesting is that giraffes are gregarious animals, which means that they'll move together in groups through the savannah, and often the male will leave the female and the youngster and go and graze and browse on different plants on his own, looking for other females. But as we can see here, this male is quite keen on the other female and the youngster that he's been following for the last couple of days. So it'll be interesting to see what sort of behavior he might do over the course of this afternoon and the next week. But potentially he will continue to follow the other female. And what's quite interesting is that with these giraffe, when they go down to drink some water, they have to open their legs quite wide apart in order to go down and drink that water. Think about how long their necks are and how far they are from the water. It's an incredible thing to see, so hopefully we'll get to see that sometime soon. Logan would like to know, what type of food do giraffes like to eat? Well, Logan, one of their favorite foods to eat is part of the acacia nigrescens tree, which is a knobthorn tree. And on that tree, there's a few flowers that it likes to eat there, but it also likes to browse on leaves on trees. And sometimes it'll eat some berries off the different trees, like a magic guarri, which hopefully we might see a bit later. I can show you exactly what the magic guarri looks like. But we might just be lucky enough to see this giraffe eat some of the trees around us. Megan would like to know, how fast can giraffes run? And they can get up to 35 miles per hour. Can you believe that? That's so quick, eh? And when there is a predator, they need to run that quick because it's their defense form to get away from those predators. And they've also got long legs that predators would be quite scared of, because they could get a kick in the face, which could cause some problems for any predator that would like to try. Tucker would like to know, when do baby giraffes like to leave their moms? Tucker, from my understanding, they like to leave between the ages of 2 and 2.5 years old. It's when they get to the point that they are able to be independent enough. Well, have a look at this. He's walking straight into that tree. I wonder what he's doing. He could be rubbing himself off of the parasites beneath it. That's really interesting. Underneath their bellies, they get loads and loads of different parasites like ticks, and it's difficult for them to itch and rub them off. So you can see what we're seeing now is a giraffe that's literally getting on top of a tree and rubbing. Oh, that's amazing to see that. Rubbing its belly on that plant and trying to wipe off any of those ticks. You can imagine we have hands that can rub around our body, get to different parts of our body to take off those parasites or flies or anything like that. Giraffe don't have that ability, so they need to rub themselves on trees and all sorts of things like that to get the itch that they need. Wow, so that's very cool to see that. Hopefully we'll see him feeding. I'm going to see if I can get into another position. Otherwise, we're going to leave these giraffes for the afternoon and see what other animals we might be able to see out here, because they are starting to get a little bit far away from us. But we have got a whole savanna ahead of us where we can find elephants, hippos, zebra, a leopard, potentially a lion. It just needs us to get out there and see what we can find. What would you guys like to see? Over here, to our right, we can see a termite mound. So a termite mound is quite similar to what looks like an ant, but this has been built by little termites. Isn't that incredible? And we can tell if it's active or not by seeing if there's holes in them. So this one doesn't look active purely because there is a lot of holes in the termite mound itself. But you'll get a number of animals out here in the bush that love to eat from these termite mounds. They provide a huge food source. So we're going to see if we can find a zebra or anything out here on these plains. And when we do, we'll come straight back to you. For now, let's go and see how James is doing.
Well, we haven't had any luck at all, everyone, but we have come to a place where the hyenas like to live, and that's their home there. Lots of little hyenas live inside there, but if the mums and dads of the hyenas are not here, then they will not stay outside. They will go inside the termite mound there. And just have a quick look at that termite mound. That's a big mound of clay and sand that you can see there, built by little termites. Millions and millions of them build that. And then it is opened up by animals like aardvark, which eat the termites, and then the hyenas dig their own little burrows, and they go and live in there. So I imagine there are probably one or two small hyenas inside there, but unfortunately it's quite hot, and so the adults are away from here, and they'll come back sometime during the night, but there aren't any here. So let's move on, see what else we can find. Sam's had all the luck so far with that giraffe. We've had no luck, have we, David?
Not yet.
Not a sausage. You'll just reverse out here. And Andreas, a very clever question from you. What are the leopard's predators? Well, a leopard's predators are, I suppose if it's a very little leopard, other leopards, then other predators that are what we call higher up on the hierarchy. Those would include lions and possibly even spotted hyenas. So those would be the predators of leopards. But it's very seldom that a leopard actually gets actively hunted. So it's very unlikely that a lion would see a leopard and think, oh, that's something nice to eat. If they did come across each other, they would probably try and fight, or certainly the lion would try and kill the leopard, but the leopard would probably climb up a tree and escape from the lion. They have another little home, do the hyenas, so we'll just have a quick look up here at this little home of theirs, see if they're here. Oh, watch the bumps, everyone. Big bumps, and you can see lots of trees around here. This is a very clever place for the hyenas to be living. It's nice and hidden. Out there, Dave. And this one's an even bigger termite mound. And I don't see any hyenas here. I think it's probably still a little bit warm. Anyway, this is where they live, sometimes. Not today. So it's quite nice for them. They've got lots of different houses around the place. This is one of their houses. And you can see in here, I don't think that they've been here for a little while. And you know why I can tell that? Is that there are a whole lot of green sort of creepers growing inside the hole. Now, Pericles, you're interested, is a wonderful name. Pericles, you're wondering, what it is that, or how many termites there are in a mound like this. I'm just listening to the radio quickly. Pericles, there are probably at least 2 or 3 million termites in this mound. Now, how long do you think it would take for you to count up to 2 or 3 million? It will take a very long time. It will probably take you more than a year. So there are lots and lots and lots of termites in a mound this size. Let me just turn around here. And Mrs. Benny, you want to know what the temperature is? Well, in Celsius, I'm guessing it's probably about 27 or 28 degrees Celsius, which is 82 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's quite warm, but it's very pleasant. It's not too hot at all. It might be up to 30, which is 85 degrees Fahrenheit. Here, of course, everybody, we use what we call the imperial, at least the metric system. You in America and the United Kingdom, you use the imperial system where you use Fahrenheit and feet and yards and inches. We here in South Africa and the rest of the modern world, we use the metric system. And so that's why I've given you 2 different temperatures. Our temperature is measured in something called Celsius, and yours, of course, is measured in Fahrenheit. Means the same thing, it's just a different number. No hyenas at home, very disappointing. Let's see what else we can find. Now, one of the very special trees that we get here is something called a marula tree. And this one here, I'm just going to get out and show it to you, was pushed over by some of my favorite animals. And those animals are, of course, David. Elephants. Elephants push these trees over. And this is a very special kind of tree. If we look here at the bark, see how it peels off? Now, I'm sure some of you will have sisters and brothers. And out here, if somebody wants to have a boy or a girl, some parents want to have a boy or girl, say they've already got a boy and they want to have a girl, they find the female tree of the marulas. They've got male trees and female trees. The females produce fruit. The males produce little flowers only, no fruits. So if you want to have a daughter, what you do is you find the female tree and you take the bark of the tree like this and you soak it in water. You make a tea out of it, and then you give that to the mother, and she will then, the next child that she has will be a female. I don't think it works very well, but that's what some people believe out here. So that's the marula tree, and there's some big ones. We'll find you some that aren't fallen over. Here's a big one here. That big tree there is a marula tree. Very famous, delicious fruits that the female trees make in the middle of the summertime. That's around January and February. Very nice. There's the bark if you want to have a look at it. I shall re-plug myself in. There we go. You can see there, it's very fire resistant. So if there's a fire through here, this bark doesn't burn. Jake, you want to know why the elephants pushed this tree down? Well, I'm going to ask David to just point the camera over this area. You tell me, Jake, why you think the elephants would push down a tree. What's at the top of a tree, and what does an elephant eat? See, Jake, all the leaves are gone from this tree. That's because the elephant ate them all. They like to eat the leaves of the trees. They also like to eat the fruit, but the marula tree is very clever. The fruit does not ripen on the tree. It drops the fruit on the floor, so that the elephants have to pick the fruit off the floor to eat it. So what you find is that an elephant will push this tree over if he's very hungry and he wants to eat the leaves off the top. Sometimes elephants just get cross and they push trees over, but I think that one was pushed over because he wanted to eat the leaves. Quite nice to be able to do that, isn't it? Although it's a bit destructive. And I think one of the reasons we're not seeing that many animals at the moment is because it is pretty hot at the moment. And so the animals will be standing somewhere in the shade. And just like where you live, the closer you get to a river, the more deep the shade will be. So we are going to head now down back towards the clearings where Sam had those giraffe and see there's a waterhole quite close by there and see if we can't find a buffalo there. But we're also still on the hunt for that leopard, hoping that it might pitch up at some stage. There'll be lots of other interesting things. Everywhere you walk, you know, in this area, you can find something interesting. Even if you're not interested, or if you're only interested in big animals, the trees and birds and insects and things like that are just as fascinating. And Lily, a very nice question from you. Do elephants ever eat meat? It's not impossible. It's certainly not impossible that the elephants should eat meat, but it's very unlikely. Now, why I say it's not impossible is that some animals who normally only eat bushes and grasses, sometimes it's because there's not a lot of nutrition. If you only ate vegetables with no eggs or no meat at all, it would be difficult for you to get all the things that you need in your body to grow. And the same goes for the animals. And so sometimes animals that don't eat meat normally will pick up. I just saw a lizard moving at a very, very fast speed, but it's so clever that it's disappeared. Some of them will eat grass, not grass, bones. So you will find something like a kudu, which is a bit like a deer that you get at home, that will suck on bones to get phosphorus and calcium and other nutrients. And then what you find with elephants sometimes, not so much the bone eating, but they will eat soil, they'll eat sand. In times when it's very dry and there's not a lot to eat, then they will eat soil. And Annalie, you're worried about the number of snakes that we get here and what kinds of snakes. We get lots and lots of different kinds of snakes here, Annalie. But remember, before I tell you about them, just remember that it's almost impossible to be bitten by a snake. You really have to irritate a snake very much to make him bite you. And most snakes will move away from us because they don't want to bite us. They're not our enemies at all. They just like the... Ooh, look at that very big truck. That's fairly terrifying. Let me get out of the way. Sorry, Annalie, I'll get back to you. Yeah. So we get things like puff adders and cobras and mambas and tree snakes and vine snakes and house snakes and striped-bellied sand snakes and mole snakes and blind snakes, lots of different snakes. But I've only seen about maybe 6 snakes this year, so we don't see them a lot. And that's because they move away from human beings, and the same goes for snakes all over the world, you know. They don't eat, or they don't try and attack people. They're very afraid of people, and the only people that get bitten by snakes are normally people who either try and kill them, or who try and chase them away, or who try and catch them. Those sorts of people get bitten by snakes. But out here, no, very unlikely. Elijah, you're a very clever fellow. You want to know why it is that an elephant has got tusks coming out of the front of his mouth. An elephant's tusks are his front teeth. So if you open the top of your mouth, do this. Those are the elephant's tusks. So imagine these 2 teeth of yours coming all the way out of your mouth and sticking out the front. That's what the elephant's tusks are. And he uses them sometimes for defense. So if he's having a big fight with another bull, or maybe a female's trying to protect her babies, then she will use those tusks for defense. Otherwise, they use them to eat. They use them, you saw the bark that I peeled off there from that marula tree. An elephant doesn't have fingers, so sometimes they'll use the tusk to open it, to break open the bark of the tree, and then they use the trunk to pull the bark off. And then also they will use the tusks to wedge. They wedge branches and grass between the trunk and the tusks, and they pull off the things that they want to eat. Remember that we, of course, are able to do that with our hands, but very few animals have got hands like us. Only the monkeys and the apes have got hands like we do. So all the other animals have to kind of make a plan. Desiree, you've asked a very interesting question to which there is not a simple answer, I'm afraid. You've said, how long does it take for a snake to have babies? Desiree, a snake, remember, doesn't have babies. Well, some do. Some have babies, some lay eggs, and some have something in between. And I'm going to teach you 3 words here, Desiree, and you must try and remember them. They're quite difficult. The third one's the most difficult. The first one is viviparous. Can you say that? Say viviparous.
Viviparous.
There, well done, David. And there's some impala. Thank goodness. There's an impala ram who's chasing his wives around. Look at that. He's shouting at his wives. It's not very nice of him, is it? He's telling them they need to stay at home. Here he comes. Okay. Let's just go around here. Desiree, let's just go back to that. Right, so viviparous means it gives birth to live young. So mammals, like us, are viviparous. But some snakes are also viviparous. So that's some of them. Then others are oviparous. Now, something that is oviparous is like a bird. It lays an egg, and then the youngster hatches from the egg. So lots of snakes are oviparous. And the time it takes for those eggs to hatch, it varies. It takes different amounts of time. Listen to this very cross impala ram. And there's some nyala here. Look at this. Here's some special antelope. They're my favorite antelope out here. That's a female nyala. There she is, sitting in the shade. See, she's a little bit different from the impala. You can see her moving now with an impala. A couple of nyala, that's the impala ram behind. See, she's a slightly redder color. Anyway, so while we watch these animals, there's one more word I want you to try and remember, Desiree, and everyone else in the class, and that is ovoviviparous. Can you say that? Ovoviviparous. We're going to say it once more together. 1, 2, 3. Ovoviviparous. David, can you say it?
Ovoviviparous.
Very good, well done. And that, Desiree, is a snake that has eggs that hatch inside it. So it's not quite viviparous, it's not quite oviparous, it is ovoviviparous. Go home and sit around the table and say to your mother tonight, do you know what ovoviviparous means? And I bet she'll say no, and then you can tell her. So these are the most common antelope that we have here. They're different from the deer that you get in the United States. You can see they've got horns, not like the antlers that your deer have. Your deer have got antlers, and those antlers come off at the end of every year, whereas these horns don't. If they come off, that's the last that will happen. They will never grow back again. And they only come off if the rams are fighting, and you can see that that ram was chasing his females around the place, and he'll be fighting with other males. And Shauna, let's just sneak a little bit forward here. You want to know how long the longest snake here is. Well, Shauna, the longest snake here is called an African rock python. And an African rock python, I have seen one up to 5 meters long. Now remember, I said that we use a slightly different measuring system here. So that in feet, Shauna, if you multiply it by 3.25, which I don't expect you to be able to do in your head, is roughly 17 feet long. A snake of 17 feet. It's quite long, eh? Completely harmless to human beings. Just very big and amazing to see. Beautiful colors, diamond, shiny shapes on the back of the African rock python. So there are females here. They don't have any horns. And you can see some young males who've got very small horns on tops of their heads. Aren't they special? I think these are some very special animals here. And there's so many of them because they're so very clever. They're able to eat grass. They can eat leaves off trees, which most animals can't. Most animals have to choose whether they eat leaves off the trees or they eat grass off the ground. And impala are very clever. They can do both. And maybe you can also hear in the background there one of the 250 bird species that we get here. And that one that we could hear was the emerald spotted wood dove, and it goes there, you can hear it now. Now it's stopped. Okay, let's move on a little bit here. There's a little waterhole around the corner. Let's see if we can't find ourselves a buffalo. Maybe an elephant also. You can see lots and lots of different trees all around us. And this is proper wilderness area, everyone. This is a lovely wild area. And Preston, very good question, which you can probably answer yourself if you just think carefully about the question. You said, do the males travel separately from the females from the impala? Not at this time of year, Preston. At this time of year, the males want to be around the females because it's nearly time for them to make new impala. That will happen in May, so that's just in a month's time. But after May, Preston, yes, they do exactly that. The males come together in groups of boys, and the girls come together in groups of girls, probably a bit like on the playground at school where you are, and they travel off sort of on their own. And then at certain times of the year, they come together. That's a very clever question. See how the bush is getting thick? That's because we're quite near what we call a drainage line, which is a dry riverbed. So no water flowing in any of the riverbeds here. We're in a very dry area compared with a place like Virginia Beach. I think you're in Virginia Beach, aren't you? So you have much more rain there where you are than we have over here. You can see it's quite dry. And even though we're going into the winter time, it's still 85, 86 degrees. Now let's stick our heads around the corner here. Ooh, big bump in the road. No animals drinking water here. So we'll go around to the other waterhole just around the other side. Oh, let's just quickly stop here first though and see if we can get a picture of that bird on the floor there. Can you see it, Dave? It's called a starling, everybody. And that clever starling knows that it is shiny. Lift. And then there we go. Look how shiny it is. Isn't that beautiful? You see he's got a yellow eye, and that tells us that he's either something called a Cape glossy starling or a greater blue-eared glossy starling. And he's hiding behind a tree because he knows we can see him. But there he is. He's coming out the other side now. Or he was. Yes, he is. Go right a bit. There. Isn't that pretty? And yeah, you can hear that dove going again. Now he's hunting for insects. He's running around, looking. Those eyes are very sharp. They're very clever. He's able to find insects with them. And he's looking for insects. You can see the shape of his beak there is long and pointed. It's not hooked like a parrot's beak, which is used for eating nuts and fruits. That beak is used to eat insects like that butterfly that just flew past him. He didn't see it though, I don't think, or it was too fast. Nice. You think he found one. Good. Let's go around the corner. There's another waterhole there, and I'm pretty sure there's some buffalo around there. Maybe an elephant will come down. Apparently everyone in the class wants to know how many babies a buffalo will have at once. A buffalo will have only one baby at once. Sometimes it's said that they can have twins. I've never seen that before, so normally it's just one buffalo. Because remember, any of the herbivores, remember herbivore is an animal that eats only grasses, any of the herbivores, the babies are born very what we call precocial. It means they're able to run almost immediately. Now, you know how long it takes a human being to be able to run. You guys could only get up and walk probably around a year old. And an impala and a zebra and a buffalo calf can all run within 20 minutes of being born. So if they were born at the beginning of this lesson, they would already be running by the end of the lesson. Isn't that amazing? And because of that, they're much bigger than, say, the carnivores or the cat babies. And that means that mothers can only carry one baby at a time. They can't carry more than that. And Jake, a very clever question. You want to know how much a buffalo weighs. The buffalo weighs, and I'm going to use our metric system first, and then I'll tell you in pounds, about 800 kilograms. A big bull buffalo, 800 kilograms, and in pounds, that is about 1,800 pounds. So a huge animal, just a little bit smaller than the American bison. Sam's got something really interesting to show you now. So have we.
So you're back with Sam and Bryan, and we've just come towards a guarri bush. So we thought we saw those giraffes, and we thought that'd be a good idea to show you the two different trees that we're talking about that have fruit. So the first one, that fruit, is the guarri bush. We can't see the fruit on them at the moment. There's no fruiting on this guarri bush, but this is a tree that likes to have a berry, and that is the guarri bush. Just next to that guarri tree is a dead knobthorn tree, and even though it's not alive, we can still quite clearly see the knobs that are on the tree. So if we go up the side and all the way to the top, especially on that right branch over there, you can quite clearly see the knobs that are on that tree. So these are just the little things that the giraffe like to eat out here in order to sustain their energy out in the bush. But what's more is that there's even a whole nother story that's going on as I stand out here. Just as I'm standing in the bush, I can see a huge hole here, which you're not able to see, and it's over here, and that's where a baboon spider could potentially be living. So that's a spider that can get up to this big, and it's quite a scary thing to see. It's not the best thing that you want to crawl into your bed at night time. And that is a baboon spider. Ooh, James just found a zebra. Let's go and have a look at it.
Now, a lot of you are going to wonder why it is that a zebra has got stripes, and look how difficult he is to see there in the bush, especially when he moves. That's a zebra, everyone. We're very lucky. I know Sam was looking for some of these, and there are two zebra up ahead here. And we'll just, oh, there are a whole lot actually in the bush there. Quite difficult to see because they're in some thick bush, but there's a nice picture of them. They're the most special animals. I really like them. And Logan, while we look at these zebra, you want to know how big the park is that we're in. This park, Logan, is in total 8 million acres. That's a huge park. It's much bigger than, for example, the Yellowstone National Park. So it is a vast, vast area. But we're on a little section in the western side of that park, and the area that we're allowed to use is about, I don't know, 2,400 hectares, which is roughly about 6,000 acres that we're allowed to drive around on. But the animals can move around that whole 8 million acres. Isn't that impressive? And then the whole class apparently would like to know how it is that we help endangered animals. Well, the best way we can help endangered animals anywhere throughout the world is to give them space to live on their own. Remember that to live, they don't need our help. They are very well adapted to living in the environment, so the best thing we can do for endangered animals is to provide a natural space for them to live in. So places like this park, places like your national parks in the United States, like Yellowstone and Yosemite and all the other wonderful national parks that you have there, are very important for looking after endangered animals. So in South Africa, where we are, it would be impossible for animals like cheetah and wild dog to survive if we didn't have areas like this, which is called the Kruger National Park. And in the same way, if you didn't have places like Yellowstone, endangered animals like the wolves that you have there wouldn't be able to survive. Isn't that a nice zebra sighting? Still haven't found my buffalo yet, so we're going to go around the corner. There's some water not too far from here, and buffalo love to be around the water during the middle of the day. Remember also that it's much later in the day where we are than where you are. You're about 6 hours behind us. And so although it's probably about 10 past 4 here now, I'm guessing it's probably about 10 past 11 there where you are. 10 past 10, so you're 7 hours behind us. No, 6 hours. You're 6 hours behind us. So it's funny that it's the afternoon here and we're going into nighttime, and you'll come and follow us into that nighttime 6 hours later. And I'm sure you know this, but if you go all the way across to the west of America, to California, they're another 3 hours behind you. So they're 9 hours behind us. Here's a game drive full of people, and this, of course, is a very important part of what happens in this area. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
Good.
Good, good. Yes.
How are you?
Yes, very well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bungling along. We have some 8 and 9-year-olds from America on game drive with us.
Oh, no,
yes.
that's wonderful.
Yes, it's very nice to have them with us.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yes,
Okay.
we'll see you later.
Cheers.
Bye-bye. So that's Lex, and Lex has been working in this area for a very long time, guiding tourists around, and I hope that one day you will also be tourists in this area. Sorry, we had a question coming through there, but I'm afraid I missed it. And I saw Lex, so I'm going to ask Rebecca, who's helping in the director's chair, to read it out to me again. Oh dear, I seem to have unplugged myself. That's not very good at all. I can't hear Rebecca. There we go, I've plugged myself in again, Rebecca. Ah, Andreas, you want to know if I've ever saved an animal outside the park. Andreas, I've never saved an animal outside the park. I have saved an animal inside the park, though, if that counts. A friend of mine and I, Andrew, on Christmas Day last year, we came across a dam where there was lots of mud in the bottom. And there were 2 impala stuck in the mud, and they couldn't get out. And we managed to save them and pull them out. And so they had a good Christmas Day, and Andrew and I felt very good about ourselves. There are some buffalo at the waterhole here, which is very exciting. Oh, big bumps. Hold on, everybody. Don't know how much longer we have with you, so I'm going to drive a little bit quicker. Hold on. If you're wearing a hat, put your hand on your hat. Otherwise, it'll blow off. Tucker, that's a very mature question for you to ask. You know, what the habitat is like for the zebra. Well, you kind of saw it there. It's what we call broadleaf woodland. And although it's called woodland, there's lots of grass in the woodland, and that's what a zebra eats. So a zebra will live anywhere, for example, like this on our left-hand side, which is open grassland. They'll like to live in that, up to that kind of woodland that we saw them in just now. As long as there's grass to eat, a zebra will be happy. So you won't find them in a desert, and you won't find them in a forest where there isn't much grass, but you'll find them in a grassland, and a savanna, and a woodland. Now here's a whole lot of big buffalo bulls. There's a buffalo, everybody. Lots and lots of buffaloes. Apparently you'd like to take a selfie with me. I'm not sure how this works, but there you are. I'm looking at the camera. Okay, I think we should look at the buffalo now. Okay, everybody, we're going to say goodbye to you with these buffalo. I hope you have a wonderful day at school. Play hard and have a wonderful day. Learn lots, and we'll see you next time. Right, I think the school has left us, everybody. Welcome to those of you who are not 8 and 9 years old, and those of you who are 8 and 9 years old, perhaps Gracie's watching today, you're also most welcome. And I'm sure you've been with us the whole time. And I need to tone my voice down slightly. Here we have some buffalo bulls, and the greatest collection of red-billed oxpeckers I've ever seen. Now, we're not going to spend a long time there. On the back one there, Dave, there are thousands of oxpeckers. There we go. We're not going to spend long here because we've had reports of shadow crossing into this area from Arethusa. So we're going to pop down there and see if we can't find her. I'm very keen to find out if she's still got her youngsters or not. I know they have not been seen for some time. Oh, very nice. Pamela, a nice question from you. We're looking at some oxpeckers there, and of course many of you who are keeping bird lists will have the red-billed oxpecker on it. In fact, it'll probably be one of the first birds that you got. And Pamela, you're interested to know whether or not the morning is a better time for looking at birds. The answer is sometimes. I'd say most commonly yes, but that's not to say that the afternoon is not a good time to see birds. But the dawn chorus, when the animals wake up, when they're all singing, that's a very good time to spot birds. And so, yeah, I would say probably morning slightly better than the afternoon. All right, I'm afraid we're not going to hang around here. Lots of buffalo around the place. Let's go and see if we can't give Chris a hand. Chris is driving out of Weirtella at the moment. We'll see if we can give him a hand and go and find some leopard. Hopeless time finding leopard this morning. Maybe we'll be lucky this afternoon. Before we do that, though, David, there's Taylor. Now that, everybody, is a buffalo bull who looks to me, as David punches in on his face, like Taylor Lautner, and many of us agree. Normally when he looks at us, come on, give us a look. He's got this kind of overhung, can't really see there. He'll brighten that at all. Hang on one sec. That's the Jumadam cam stuff. There we go. Now we need him to look at us. He's being very uncooperative. He obviously doesn't like me. There we go. You can get a vague idea there. Okay, let's move on and see if we can find the leopard. Now, the beer media, you are worried about whether or not we will have more rain during the winter months, and the answer is probably not. We're right at the end of the rainy season, which was a pathetic rainy season. About 200 millimeters we had, which is a tiny amount. It's less than 2 inches. And, no, it's not. 200 millimeters, 20 centimeters, which is about 4 inches. So that's about a third of what we would normally get. And there's not any more rain expected, and you want to know what's going to happen to the animals as the water dries out. Well, many of them are, of course, adapted to living in fairly dry and harsh conditions, but some are really going to struggle because the water will dry out. There will be pumping of water around the Sabi Sands, so some will be okay, but there's going to be trouble. I don't think it's so much a case of water as it is a case of the fact that the forage is not going to last through the dry season. On that note, I'm going to drive a bit more quickly to get to the southwest of the property. Let's head across to Sam and find out what he's doing.
So James is off to see if he can find the cubs. Hold on, everyone. We just got ourselves a little bit of a sticky situation here. Hi there. Just going to see if I can get into this drainage. Thank you very much. Doing well? Very well, thanks. Yeah, live at the moment. Cheers, hey. Thanks. All right, so we just saying hello to some friends. You know what I really want to find today? Is an ellie. So this is a live safari. Everything that happens now will happen in the live. So if we see a leopard walking onto screen, it happened right now at this very moment. So we're going to see if we can go through this drainage line. So next to us here is the Mawati drainage line, and James has just made it to the other side of the reserve, or going towards there, to see if he can spend some time with those leopard cubs. I had a quick glimpse of them this morning. I was on my way home back from the tracking team. I actually had one of my best mates here last night in camp, so took him on a tracking team, and we saw the young cubs, which was awesome. Especially just to have a friend here to show him a little bit of wilderness made me a very happy man. But as I said, I'm happy to be back with Mr. Ellie, and hopefully he can bring us a little bit of luck this afternoon. Just going to listen to the sound of any alarm call, because there was a note a couple hours ago that there was a leopard around this area, and there was a kudu alarm call that was going, bah! They make big barks. So we're going to see if we can hear that or see anything moving or flash out of the bush. I don't know who was on drive with me yesterday, but I had probably the best drive of my life. We were just looking at a Cokie Franklin, talking about something interesting, and then next thing we know, Inkanyini walks past us, that beautiful young female leopard that has 2 cubs. So hopefully, one day, we'll be able to see the cubs. Viam, the master spotter tracker, saw that leopard as it was cruising through the Kruger. And it cruised through the Kruger and onto Cheetah Plains, so we were very, very lucky. And that's the best part of being in a live safari, is that you just don't know what's going to happen. Pamela wants to know if we ever do a specific bird watching class. Pamela, we like there will be days when I'll go out. A bird watching drive. So not that I'm aware of, Pamela. Not that I'm aware of, but I've been holding a bird list together to see if I can collect as many birds as we can see out here. Not collect, obviously, to see if we can find and locate. And yesterday, the Cokie Franklin was a new one to our list, so I hope you guys have all written that down in your bird book. So it could very well be the Umvula male leopard that was walking around here a little bit earlier. And we got some notes from Vuyatela Lodge saying that they saw a leopard this morning, just later this morning. So there's every chance that we might be able to come across this leopard. Hopefully now that we've got our Ellie back, we'll have a little bit more luck. I felt quite bare without Mr. Ellie yesterday, but it definitely brought some luck to James as he was on his drive. We haven't seen any elephants on the property recently. I'm not sure why. It's just, I think it goes in cycles like that. Bryan was explaining to me a bit earlier that they come in and out. So the viewers are wanting to know if it was Karula's cubs that I saw this morning. It was exactly that. It was Karula's cubs. So we drove on the tracking team around the whole reserve, and then on the way home, we stopped off at the junction, at the Mawati drainage junction, where you can go from our border into the Mawati, and on the other side, in Chitwa, was the 2 leopard cubs that were lying in the drainage basin with Karula. So it was very cool to see from a long distance. So it was about 100 meters away from us that she was lying in that drainage system. So it wasn't very easy for us to spot her, but we managed to get an eye on her. And I've only seen those cubs once before that, but it was a very, very quick sighting. So we're going to carry on towards the Mawati and see what we can find. Let's go and see how Mr. James Henry's doing on the other side of the Mawati.
Now, we've come into this area because there were reports of the illustrious shadow coming down here. So what we're going to do is drive around here and see if we can find her tracks. And with any luck, we'll find the leopard. But before we do that, what I would very much like to show you is my favorite vista on Djuma. I've shown it to you probably 747 times over the course of the last year or so. But here it is in a slightly different light. The purple mountains of the Drakensberg and their foothills, a slightly deeper purple off to the west-hand horizon. We'll punch zoom them for you. Woo! And there's quite apart from just looking at the mountains, everyone, the point of stopping in an area like this to see if you can hear some birds alarm calling, and I can actually. I can hear some batises going. So what we'll try and do is sneak forward and see if we can find them there. See what those birds are shouting at. Now, what the leopard did was come in from the direction in which you're looking right now. And she was reported coming into this drainage system, and she is known to spend an extensive period in this little sort of thickety drainage system that you're looking at now. So let's drive very slowly through here and see if we can't find which birds are alarm calling and where they are. I can see some through there, Dave. Can you see where I'm pointing? You'll just be able to see maybe the odd bit of movement, but there's some batises. You can maybe hear them going. There, you can hear them nicely now. Go, Chris. This is Chris just also helping us track the leopard. He's just telling me what his plans are. Just telling us he's coming down this way. Okay, copy. I'm at the junction, Philemon's, Cutline, and Zoe's. I'm going to go on to Gary Main and then Triple M. I have got some alarming birds in this area. I'll have a look around here. Now, them birdies, which you heard going tip, 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 could be alarming at a leopard just as easily a small snaky. So we'll just ease our way around the corner here. And please remember, I know these tracking expeditions can sometimes be a little frustrating, so there's no reason that we shouldn't talk about anything else while I'm trying to look for the leopard, or while we are trying to look for the leopard. So don't feel like you have to limit your questions to anything about leopard tracking. I don't see the spotted cat in there. No. Okay, what we're going to do is just drive around this block. See if we don't spot her. I don't think her cubs have been seen for some time. For those of you who are perhaps new viewers, Shadow is a 9-year-old female leopard, daughter of the great Queen Karula. And she had 2 cubs in this area very recently. They're almost 2 months old now. We just hope that they're okay. She's had some dreadful luck with youngsters. Her last offspring had to be physically removed and put into rehab because he caught a rabid dog, and that wasn't very good. And it's obviously almost impossible to then reintegrate a male leopard to an area once he's been in quarantine. I'm not sure what's happened to him. But she's also lost 6 litters before that. Hello, Zach. While we're driving along here, staring blankly into the bushes, you want to know about marsupials, hopping animals. Are there any marsupials here? No, there are not. None. And I, until very recently, until a question I was asked 2 nights ago, I thought we only got marsupials in Australasia. But it seems that you even get one in North America and plenty in South America. So of the 3 sort of, it's not a class, what is it? It's a sub-order probably of mammals, subclass of mammals. Monotremes, which are the egg layers like a duck-billed platypus. Placentals, which are like us and everything else we get here. And the marsupials, we only get placental mammals in Africa. We don't get monotremes, and we certainly don't get any marsupials. Very nice question. Thank you, Zach. We'll just drive around the corner here and find exactly where the tracks went into Djuma. So, where we are now, this is quite a nice just place to explain the lay of the land if you happen to be a new viewer. All right, where we stop now is a sort of junction between Djuma to the right-hand side of your screen. There it is. Arathusa to the left-hand side of your screen. And we, of course, can drive on both, but Shadow, dear Shadow, apparently crossed this road not far from here and went into Djuma. So with any luck, we'll be able to pick her up. But it is quite a thick block, so unless she pops out on a road, I don't know. We'll see. Here is Sean. Sean will give us an update. Ah, yeah. Hello, Sean. How are you? Good, good. Hello, everybody. Apparently, yeah. You didn't see any signs? Okay. All right. We've got somebody else driving down that way. I'll see in there. Oh, really?
Probably.
Okay.
There's 2 nice termite mound, I know.
Okay. And Mansong kwa nama hanya?
We know so.
Okay.
Sorry, he went to poke his head inside.
In the termite mound. Okay. All right.
Nothing
Nothing bit you. Okay. Well, that's important. Okay.
I'm not brave enough. I've been charged before. I don't like
Yes. No. I'm not brave enough either. All righty.
This nice one, right here.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. We'll check that. Okay. So what he's saying there, everybody, is there are 2 termite mounds either side of the road here that he thinks Shadow has got her cubs in. And those guys, of course, are allowed to go into Little Gari where Karula is with her cubs. And so they're not going to spend a huge amount of time around here looking for Shadow. We're just going to drive very slowly down this road. And he said just about 40 meters in here, there's a very big termite mound. Now we're at the stage where we can start to view Shadow's cubs, well, maybe a few days off. So if we did see them, I would be happy to view them because they're just about 2 months old. I think a few days off being 2 months old. So let's drive very slowly down here. Ah, Pamela, what a lovely question from you about what causes termites to abandon a termite mound. Pamela, it's the same thing that causes an empire to crumble. It's a lack of leadership. What happens is that the queen dies, Pamela, and she's not replaced. And so everybody just dies out. The termites die out of the mound. I think that is the termite mound that he was referring to on this side. I'm just going to listen here. And if we do hear some birds alarm calling, we'll just nip in there. Let's get onto the fire break and look onto the top of that termite mound. Now, Ravi, I'm going to get onto your wonderful yet lengthy query shortly. What I'm going to do, we have a wonderful microphone system here. I want to go and look at that termite mound. I don't want to go bashing around here, so I'm going to do it on foot. Samwise, I think, is probably heading home because his ear is giving him uphill. So you're going to watch me walk there, and because we have a wonderful microphone system, you should be able to hear me all the way. You'll tell me if you can't hear me. I'm just going to walk very gently over to that termite mound and see if I can see anything there. I mean, ideally you don't want to track in the vehicle. It's better to do it on foot. You cause slightly less damage. If there's obvious alarm calling, then we'll drive off-road after something. But otherwise, we'll probably just have a walk. There's somebody who thinks he's a rally driver. Okay, I'm going to talk relatively quietly. Will you just shout if you can't hear me anymore, Dave? So, Shadow apparently crossed over somewhere around here. Let me hold this thing behind me, then you'll definitely hear me. And so we walk very slowly through here. She'll like a drainage line area like this, where it's quite thick. And we just walk around. You don't want to be stumbling upon a leopardess with her baby. All right, still, Dave?
Yeah, all good.
And I just want to stick my head up the top of this termite mound and see if there isn't anything here. If you do hear some obvious growling, do let me know. I can see an impala over there. Can you see me still?
Yeah, only just.
There's an impala over there. So I think it's highly unlikely that there's a leopardess lurking around here unless she's about to eat one of them. You lost me.
No, audio good, visual yes.
Okay, coming up onto the termite mound now. Here we are. Still hear me?
Yep.
Astounding. Right, so we shall survey the surrounds to see if we can't hear or see any alarm calling. The white flash of its tail. No. One of the great things about this area is that you can gain very little height and have an incredible view, because the landscape is very gently undulating. Did see some tracks sort of over behind the car, maybe heading that way, but I don't know. It's a bit of a lottery. All right, well, let's carry on from here. She's not in here, not on this mound, nor are her babies. But this is a favorite haunt of hers. She likes this area. And I've followed her through here on a number of occasions. a perfect autumnal afternoon. I'm just going to look. No. Might do a little turn through Arethusa here. There's a sort of road that runs parallel with this one. And we might just do a little turn down there once we've driven a little further up the way. That was fun. Hope you enjoyed our little trip onto the termite mound. Okay. Everything all right, David?
All good.
You're all right while I left you where?
It's
You didn't see a leopard?
Nope.
Oh, dear. Okay. Hang on. I know I haven't seen a leopard. I just know that I have to look at what looks like a pile of leopardish type sticks. It isn't even that. It is a pile of leopardish type elephant dung. Alrighty, on we go. Ravi, I'm going to ask for your question again from Rebecca. Ravi, your question is, why do I think prey have not adapted to the diminishing landscape, and you feel like the predators have done a better job of doing that? Ravi, I think everything is probably adapted in very much the same way. So I don't think that I'm not convinced. Sorry, the game drive radio is now going ballistic in my ear, as always. Where is it? There we go. I'm not convinced, Ravi, that that is the case. I think you'll probably find that to a large extent the prey animals and predators have responded to the diminishing habitat that they have in much the same way. I'd be interested to know why you think that the prey animals have adapted worse than the predators. We're just going to ease our way up to the top of the hill here and then head back down the other way. So this is the main boundary between Mala, not Mala. Grief, can't believe I said that. Between Djuma and Arethusa. And Book Diva, you want to know if Africa's ever had bears? I don't think Africa's ever had bears, no. I think they are a New World, an Eurasian invention, if you like. No, I don't think Africa's ever had bears. I don't think bears have ever come south of the Sahara. I think you find them pretty much everywhere else in the world, actually. You find them definitely in North America. You find them all over Northern Europe. I suspect you probably used to find them all the way down into Southern Europe, and possibly even into sort of the Mediterranean areas. But I've never heard of an African bear. So I suspect that what the limiting factor there was the Sahara Desert. Although it wasn't always a desert, of course. You know, many thousands of years ago, the Sahara Desert wasn't a desert in the slightest. But it's gone through various periods of great dryness and then sort of verdance, if you like. I don't know if verdance is a word. It might be verdantness. No sign of tracks here. Let us turn around. Well, we'll turn around just at the top there. And Tim, while we're looking along for leopards, you want to know how many different kinds of hyenas there are. There are, in this area, Tim, possibly 3. But we only ever see one, really. That's a spotted hyena. You could potentially see a brown hyena here. You could potentially also see an aardwolf, which means earth wolf, which is basically a little hyena that eats termites. And then up in East Africa, you also get the striped hyena, So 4 species of hyena that I know of. I don't think I'm leaving any of them out. Spotted, brown hyena, striped hyena, and aardwolf, I think, are the only hyena species. Now, in prehistory, we're talking about bears. In prehistory, you used to get hyenas all over the place. You used to get very large hyenas, giant hyenas, which probably weighed in excess of 120, 130 kilograms, which is massive. I wouldn't like to meet a hyena that weighed that. In fact, I would probably run away screaming very loudly. Wouldn't you, David?
Absolutely.
You met a 180 kilogram hyena? Terrifying. Terrifying. All right, we're going to turn into Arethusa and come down that parallel road there and see if there aren't any tracks there. Although, here somebody's driven off the road and onto the road again, which generally means that there are tracks of animals. But this road is a main thoroughfare, which means it just means that any tracks are going to be obliterated fairly quickly. Anyway, so it goes, so it goes. You're going to hang a right here. Oh, there. Those hyenas or leopards? Sorry, just let me stick my head over the side of the car here, everyone. They're hyenas. They're not leopards. Actually, it was a nice question from you. You say you know that the Kruger Park is fenced. Well, I mean, it's fenced only around its massive sort of 8 million acre extremity. And you say, have the animals' genetics changed to stop them migrating? No, I don't think they would have, because, of course, the Kruger National Park is less than 100 years old. It'll celebrate its 90 years old this year, as far as I'm aware. And that's not enough time for genetics to have changed. Behavior has absolutely changed, though. That is a function of the fences, and it's also a function of the fact that there is water everywhere. So you can find water if you're an animal anywhere in the Sabi Sands. There's water quite a lot of the areas of the Kruger Park where there wasn't water before. And in this area, migrations used to be fairly altitudinal, which means that they weren't so much north-south, sort of up towards Zimbabwe and then down again. They were much more up into the mountains, where animals would go for the winter time, where there was more water, more forage up in the forested areas. And then in the summer, they'd come down here when the rains came and the grasses bloomed and the rivers started to flow again. But that has long since ended, I'm afraid, with the advent of agriculture, human settlement, fences, and general human intervention, if you like, in this area. And there were many, or there still are, attempts to open up those old migration routes to the mountain again. And David in Connecticut, you're wondering if I think the elephants have gone off towards the rivers to find water. I don't think so, David. I mean, we saw some elephants today, just after morning drive closed. There's somebody doing 150 kilometers an hour. Something's going on here. Hang on, let me turn the radio up again. That person is literally doing 100 kilometers an hour. I'm going to stop here. Let's get an update on the radio. Something's going on here. Afternoon stations, Arethusa. Any update on Arethusa this afternoon?
There was a Shlamian Glovu at second windmill moving east.
Copy, thank you. Any other updates that you've copied on the other stations?
Everything is on EP.
Okay, copy, thanks. No, apparently nothing. But who knows? That's Peter Danhauser. He's from Nkoro. Always gives us a good update. So I'm not sure where this fellow's in such a rush to get to. Anyway, we'll keep trying along here. Sorry, I think I was in the middle of answering a question, but I've forgotten what it was. Oh yes, David, Connecticut. Sorry, you were wondering about animals going down to the rivers for water. No, there's plenty of water around the Sabi Sands. Elephants move. And some days they're around every bush, and some days they're just gone. And I don't really know how. I think their movements are entirely unpredictable to us. They must be predictable in some way, I'm sure, because they do need water and they need forage. But I think they know where to find these things better than we know how to predict where they can find them. There's water everywhere in the Sabi Sand Zone. What you'll find, David, is that as the dry season progresses, the Sabi Sands will become a sink for elephants. There'll be more water here than there is in many other places. And so I think there'll be a lot more elephants here than there will be in other areas. There are two rivers in the Sabi Sands, of course, or two flowing rivers, the Sand River down in the middle, and then the perennial Sabi River to the very bottom of the reserve, bordering into the Kruger. And Andrea, while we drive along here, you want to know the difference between Sabi and the Limpopo River Valley. Well, Sabi, of course, is a lodge down in the south of the Sabi Sands. So let's make it a bit more generic and say the Sabi River Valley, which would contain sort of Lion Sands and Sabi and parts of the Kruger National Park. And the Limpopo River Valley, of course, is the valley of the Limpopo River up on the northern border of South Africa. Now, the major difference is, of course, the Limpopo Valley is much drier than down here. It's probably about 200 millimeters less rain that they get every year, 4 inches or so. And so the suite of tree species and animal species is very different. But that said, if you go to a place like Pafuri, where the Limpopo is then sort of makes up the northern border of the Kruger National Park, you get something like 350 different bird species, because there's a whole a kind of meeting place of habitats. So it's slightly drier, but you do get an amazing sense of diversity in those areas on the Limpopo River Valley. And the Limpopo, of course, is a very long river. It goes all the way from sort of northern central South Africa, around the top of the country, and then down into the coastal floodplain of Mozambique. And its habitat will change profoundly. As soon as you go down into Mozambique, obviously you're into the tropics there pretty much. Just get an update from Chris here. Chris, do you copy? Chris, do you copy, Chris? Right, we're back on the border where we kind of started. That's the termite mound that I walked onto just now. I don't know where this leopard is. Maybe we should head towards Treehouse Dam. Tim, I think you're interested in how we keep water in some of the pans and dams, and whether or not it's just held from the rainy season or whether they come from wells and boreholes. Yes, they normally come from wells and boreholes. A lot of the pans are pumped, which means there's an extensive network of wells that operates around the reserve. Okay, we're going to go off to Treehouse Dam, speaking of that, and see what we can find there. Why I can't hear anything on this. That's not good. Oh well. We'll find out here now. Ooh, somebody's got something up ahead here. Tony, just before we get, I'll quickly answer you. Go ahead. No, negative. Hang on. I think we've got it. I think there's something here. Did you find her? Thank you very much. She's just gone in here. Thank you very much. Well done. Guys, leopard. Chris, one of the EP guys has found her here on Gari Main. Just come onto Gari Main Junction, Philemon's Dip. I'm just trying to make my way in there. They obviously couldn't follow her, but apparently she's lying on the termite mound here. I haven't seen Shadow for so long. Go ahead. There. Aha! And make your way, Johan. We've just found her. She's static on the ground, lying here. Ah, what a joy. Well done. Isn't that fantastic, everyone? There she is. Shadow. Fast asleep. I think it's Shadow. Is it? Yes, she's got suckle marks. She's still got suckle marks, everyone. Yeah, just come to Gari Main Zoe's Junction and head west. And you'll get us visual just north of the road. So she's still got suckle marks, everybody. I don't believe she's lost those cubs. Where they are, I couldn't begin to tell you. It might be in this very termite mound next to which I'm parked. Oh, she looks very comfortable, doesn't she? Dave, can I ask you to super zoom in on the spots just below her nose? Now, she's supposed to have, Shadow has a 3-4 spot pattern. Is that as close in as we can get? There we go. So she should have 4 spots there, which unfortunately is a bit of grass, but looks like 4 spots on the right. Can you see them there, everybody? Often people find it difficult to understand what I'm talking about until you get a close-up like that. Just behind the grass and the sort of moving vegetation, you can see 1, 2, 3 just above that, and then just behind that another one, 4 spots. This is wonderful. What a stroke of luck. I suspect she was lying right here when we drove past earlier. Sorry, Rebecca, the game drive radio went again. You'll have to give me Tony's question, which I've clean forgotten on the excitement of seeing this leopard. The biggest omnivore in Africa, Tony. I guess the biggest omnivore in Africa would be the chimpanzee, I suppose. I think a big adult chimpanzee probably weighs... Any idea what it weighs? Probably the same as, maybe a bit heavier than a human, maybe about 120 kilos. So that's probably what the biggest omnivore in Africa would be. Although, I mean, a big bushbuck probably weighs a similar amount. Not bushbuck, bush pig. A bush pig is very omnivorous. They're very kindly found for us by the chap from Elephant Plains, who unfortunately for him is not allowed to drive in here. C'est la vie. I Right, just before everyone else gets here, I want to move us slightly so that we can, well, we don't need to move around a little bit later. I'm just going to turn around so that I can look you in the eye every so often. If that works for you, Dov.
That'll work.
Oh, she's up. Is that okay, Dave?
Yeah.
Sorry, let me just do this. Now we're going to be joined by another school, everyone, in about 10 minutes. And what a joy they're going to have when they see this leopardess. Hopefully she won't disappear across the boundary while we're sitting. And look at her, how regal she looks. Oh, she's magnificent. This is just wonderful. I think we'll sit here for a long time if everyone doesn't mind. Isn't that perfect? What a perfect shot that is. Last station, who are you calling? Yeah, affirmative. She's just in front of me, to the right-hand side. Yeah, she's moving. Oh, don't move too far, please. Lovely shadow, don't go too far. Oh, here we go. Right, hello. Mrs. Altman and Miss Kennedy's class here at Glenwood Elementary School, Virginia Beach, Virginia. We've just found a leopard and we're watching her disappear through the bushes here. She may well move now south to where we can't see her anymore. So I'm just going to stop here and let you get a good view of her quickly. There she goes, just in case we don't see her again. Isn't that lovely? My favorite cat of Africa, that one. Look at her. Yeah, she looks like she's going to go across the boundary. She's lifting her tail like that to show the birds that see her that she's not a threat to them. They'll start shouting at her and alarming. Let me just get into a position where we can see her, and then we'll stop. I'm afraid that's going to be it, everyone. There she goes. Unfortunately, we can't go any further. We can't follow her. Or if she moves along that particular line, we can, but I think she's going to go south. Yep, that's south, the direction she's going in. Oh, that's lovely. Kids at Glenwood, you are so lucky that that is the very first African animal you saw. A truly special, special cat to see. And she's a mum. She's got 2 little babies, only about 2 months old now. They're going to have their 2nd month birthday, if you like, in about probably 3 or 4 days' time. Wasn't that special? What a great way to join us. All right, we're going to carry on. Thank you very much. Yes, thank you. As you were. Okay, we'll keep going and see if we can look. She might still be on the road where we can see her, everyone. Maybe she's on this termite mound. She loves a termite mound. No, she hasn't stopped here. She's moving along. We might get a view of her through here, but I think she's going to go further and further south. Yeah, we don't seem to have a gear. Hello. Hi there. Did you get a good view? Okay, sure. Have you lost her? Yeah. Okay. Oh, there she goes. There she goes. Final view you'll get of her just through there. Oh, there we go. Brilliant. Yeah, you got her. You got her, Dave. That was her. Wonderful. Okay, thanks a lot. We're going to carry on. Not sure where to, but that was wonderful. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, mate.
Whew. Right, let's see what else we can find. I'm not sure how long you're with us, Glenwood Elementary School in Virginia Beach, Virginia, but we'll try and find you some other lovely African animals. I know you were supposed to be with us yesterday, but unfortunately our satellite went down. We don't know why, but it's back now. Well done, David. My name is James, by the way, and Dave is on camera. Hello, Ryan. You say, what goes a further distance, an ostrich or a cheetah? I don't know. Let's think about it. You know, they actually both live in very similar habitat types. They both like to live in open areas, and they both can live in quite dry, desert-like areas. So I'd say they probably move about the same distance. A cheetah is much faster than an ostrich. An ostrich can run at about 45 to 50 miles an hour, but a cheetah can run at 60 to 65 miles an hour, which is very fast indeed. I'm just trying to plan my next route. Okay, you say, why do elephants have such a big memory, and why are they bigger than a bug? Well, let's answer the first question. Caitlin, they've got such a big memory, I think, because they're very clever. They're like human beings. They've got a huge brain, and that means they've got lots of space to store lots of memories in. And, sorry, say that again, Rebecca. Why have they got such a big bus? Oh, those people, why have they got such a big bus? Oh, okay, I understand. Right, Rebecca is in hysterics now, so she's totally useless to me at this stage of the day. Oh, why are elephants bigger than a bus? They're not. I'm so confused. Caitlin, your question's very good. Let me turn around quickly, and then I will tell you why elephants are bigger than a bus. Okay. All right. Caitlin, so elephants have got a very good memory because they've got big brain in the same way that we have a big brain, and we obviously remember quite a lot of things, and they are as big as a bus because that's how they've evolved to be. And it helps them because they're able to eat lots of things that other animals can't eat because they're so big. They eat fruits and twigs and branches and leaves and all sorts of other things like that. And they couldn't do that if they weren't as big as they are. What a very good question. And Evan, a slightly more conventional question. Why is it that leopards have spots like cheetahs? Well, why do you think, Evan? Spots, of course, are very much like when an army person wears camouflage. It helps them to stay hidden from the enemy. And a predator needs those camouflage spots so that it can hide from the things that it's trying to catch. And, sorry, you got a view of my bald head there. Nobody should have to see that. So they've got those spots, Evan, so that they can keep themselves hidden from the things that they like to eat. And they like to eat things like impala, which are a bit like the deer that you have in the United States. And that's why they have spots. So it's very difficult to see them. If we were to see a leopard walking through this bush here, it would be very difficult to see because of those spots, and it's the same reason that a cheetah has spots. I really hope we're going to be able to find you an elephant the size of a bus. Hello, Kiara. That leopard that we just saw, you want to know how old she is? She's 9, and she's got 2 little babies who are now 2 months old. So that's quite nice. And we know she's got babies because we haven't seen them, but lots of other people have seen them. And you also would have seen underneath her, she's got what we call suckle marks. And just like if you've got a house cat or you've got a dog, you know they've got nipples on the belly, on the underside. And we could see hers was swollen, and that's because the little ones are still drinking milk. They're still nursing. 9 years old. And that, of course, remember, animals out here don't live as long as people. I'm not sure where this question comes from, but Emma, you say, why was the monkey playing with the satellite dish yesterday? Well, monkeys are very naughty, Emma, and apparently there were some monkeys on our poles. Now remember, for us to broadcast you, for me to talk to you from where I'm sitting, well, the camera takes a picture of me, then we've got a big aerial out the back of the car that sends the picture to a tower, like where the monkeys were sitting, and then that goes out to the satellites, and then that comes to where you are sitting now in your classroom in Virginia Beach. And yesterday there were some monkeys playing on the top of the tower, and monkeys are very naughty. They're just like, well, I suppose they're like people. They like to play with things, and they like to play with unusual things. It's a bit like you, when you get a new toy, you play with it for a long time, and then you lose interest and you don't worry about it anymore. And it's just the same with the monkeys. They'll climb up a tower, find something new to play with, they'll play with it for a while, and then they'll leave it alone. Right, we're going to turn up here and see if we can find some water. And while we do try and find the water, Austin, you want to know if it's salty or if it's fresh water. Austin, it's fresh water. We're not near the sea here. Some of the water is a little bit salty though. So for example, we don't drink the tap water here. We can if we have to, but it tastes a little bit salty, but nothing like the seawater that you get in Virginia Beach. And so it's a little bit salty, but it's largely fresh. And all of the water that comes out of the ground in this area from the wells and the springs, it will be slightly salty, but it would be considered fresh water. Dominic, your question is, have there been any bad storms in Africa? Now, Dominic, if I would say to you, have there been any bad storms in the United States, what would your answer be? Your answer would probably be, well, where in the United States do you mean? Because there in Virginia Beach, you probably have hurricanes every so often, right? But you know that in Arizona or up into Wyoming or those parts of America, you don't get the same hurricanes that you get in Virginia Beach. Now, Africa is even bigger than the United States. In fact, it's about 3 times the size of the United States, which means that if you say, have there been any bad storms in Africa? The answer is yes, but the question is, where in Africa do you mean? So, we're in the southern tip of Africa, we're in South Africa, and we get sort of off the east coast of where we are is a country called Mozambique. They get very bad storms called cyclones, which are very like your hurricanes. And then in this particular area, we don't get very bad storms. Sometimes we do. Maybe once a year we have hail, which of course is ice that comes out of the ground. But otherwise, we don't have very bad storms in this part of Africa. Some parts of Africa, yes. up in the Sahara is a huge piece of Africa up in the very far north. Long way from here. It can take us 8 hours to fly there. They have very bad wind and sandstorms where there's no water, just great big clouds of sand flying across the desert. So it really does depend on which part of Africa you're talking about, Dominic. Nice question. Oh, here's a question from somebody whose name I cannot hear because I'm going to ask Rebecca to spell it to me. Spell it, please. Interesting name. Zadrin, I hope we're saying it correctly. Xadrin. Zadrin, you want to know if it's cold out here at night. Depends. In summertime, it's very hot. In summertime, it's hot the whole time. But then in the middle of the winter, and we're going into winters, you go into summer, we go into winter, then it is quite cold at night. I don't think it's as cold as it gets in Virginia Beach, though. But it does get a little bit cold at night here in the winter time. But it's not cold at night now. There are some impala, everybody. These are the antelope that I was talking about that those leopards like to eat. And Eli, we were talking about rain a little bit earlier, and you want to know if we get much rain here. We do get some rain here, Eli. Not a huge amount of rain. We get about, we've only had 4 inches this year. Normally we get about, what would we normally get? We get in centimeters, 60 centimeters. It's about 24 inches of rain. So we normally get about 24 inches, which is much less than you get in Virginia Beach. Probably about half, if I'm not mistaken. And just listen to the piece, everybody. What I want you to do is be very quiet in your classroom. Be very, very quiet. And I want you to shut your eyes for 10 seconds and take a deep breath in and listen to all the sounds that you can hear now. Okay, now open your eyes, everyone, and still keep listening and still keep very silent. You can hear all the birds. You can see the impala are eating their supper. You can see the sun has just gone down. You may have even heard that woodpecker going tack, 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 knocking on the tree. There, did you hear that? Ta, 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 ta. It's a very peaceful time of day, everybody. Okay, you can carry on with your questions now. It's just a very peaceful time of day, and I hope that you had the opportunity someday to come out here. But if you don't, you know, there'll be lots of nice places around Virginia Beach where you get that same sense of peace, where you can listen to the birds and smell the fresh air. And that's why I like to live out here. Dominique, you're wondering why the animals are making all the noises. Well, these animals, the ones you're looking at now, are not making any noise at all. They're completely silent. But the birds are making a noise because they're singing to each other. The males are singing to the females, and the males are singing to each other, telling each other where their territories are. It's like advertising. Some of the insects are calling, you know, like you get crickets, I'm sure, in Virginia Beach. The crickets here are stridulating. They're rubbing their back legs against their sides and making a whistling noise. The woodpecker's tapping because he's looking for food to eat in a tree. Lots of different things going on here. Paige, you're very clever. You've obviously been either watching this before, or you've been out here maybe, or you're just very well read. You say, why is it that a warthog will go and live in an aardvark's burrow once the aardvark leaves? Well, Paige, the reason is because a warthog cannot dig on its own. It's not a good digger. But the aardvark is a better digger than anyone else around here. And they dig in termite mounds, and a warthog can't dig in a termite mound, and so it has to wait until the aardvark has dug a hole for it, and then moved house, and then it can go in and live in that hole. But that's why they live in other animals' burrows. Good question. Let's go down this way and see what we can find here. And Christian, you want to know if hyenas laugh. Christian, hyenas do not laugh, but they do make a sound that looks like laughing. So, they make a number of different sounds. If you find a hyena, if a hyena finds some food and it wants to tell its friends about the food, it will often make a noise that sounds like it's laughing. It will go, which sounds like laughing. But they aren't really laughing, they're calling their friends. Then, sometimes when it's very dark at night and the hyena wants to tell its friends or tell the other hyenas that this is its territory, it will go like this. It'll go, and that sound will travel for miles and miles, and all the other hyenas in the area will know that particular hyena, that's his place or her place. I'm just listening to the radio. Sorry, 1 second, everybody. One station. 1 second, everybody. Sorry, 1 second, everybody. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything on this. Last station confirmed, that is the sighting on Buffelshoek. Sorry, everybody. Last station confirmed, the kill you're talking about is the one on Buffelshoek. Never mind. There is a leopard somewhere, but not around here. Michaela, you want to know how tall a termite hill is. Well, Michaela, some termites don't build termite hills at all. Some of them have got burrows under the ground, and they run around in those burrows, and they never build a hill at all. And then some termites build hills that are maybe... I'm trying to think if there are any big ones around here. There's a big-ish one. Oh, look at that. There's a giraffe. Hello, Mr. Giraffe. Shh, everybody. Let's not give him a fright. Isn't he great? I'm not going to move. I just wanted to give him a chance to move up onto the road because he's got very long legs, and that means that he can fall over if he's on ground like this, which leads quite steeply. So let's let him get onto the flat ground behind us, and then we'll move back and have a proper look at him. He's huge. He's about 1.4 meters tall, which is about... It's about, how tall is it? 1.4 meters. I'm talking absolute nonsense. He's about 3.4 meters tall. He's about 15 feet tall, everyone. 15 or 16 feet. He's huge. Isn't he nice? You can see the sun has already set, and so it's starting to go into what we call dusk. Just quickly, Michaela, you know what? A termite mound can sometimes be as tall as that giraffe. 16 feet tall. And it just depends on the area that you happen to be in. In this area, some of them get that tall. Look how cleverly hidden he is. Dominic, you are interested in fossils, obviously. You're obviously interested in dinosaurs, I'm sure, and you want to know if any prehistoric bones have been found in this area. We don't have lots of dinosaur bones here, no. So there are not many dinosaur bones that have been found in this particular part of Africa. But we do have various different kinds of fossils of even older things. So shells from fishes and from mollusks, which are like snails, from millions of years ago, have been found in this area. Not much in the way of dinosaur bones. And if you look around, you can see here, there's lots of sand. It's not a very muddy area. And for a fossil to form, you need water and you need mud and silt and clay. And in this area, we don't really have that. And so I think you'll find that although probably dinosaurs did live here, well, that was so long ago that none of their bones survived. Nice question. Trent, the rarest animal that I've ever seen. The giraffe is still there, but let's carry on and see what else we can find you quickly. I know we don't have all day. Trent, the rarest animal that I've ever seen here was probably something called an African wild dog. No, or a serval, actually. Maybe a serval, which is a special kind of golden black cat, which we only very sometimes see in the night time. That's probably one of the rarest things I've seen. Otherwise, a wild dog, which is like the wolf of Africa, is a very rare animal to find here. I'm just trying to think anywhere else in the world what rare animals I've seen. I tried once to go, I was in Russia last year, and one of the very rare animals that they have there is called an Amur tiger. And I was hoping to find a tiger there, but I didn't see one because there's so few left. There are only about 250 left in the whole world. Now that might sound like a lot to you, but remember there are, well, you're sitting in an elementary school in Virginia Beach and there are probably about 500 kids just at your school. And Caleb, your answer to your question is yes and no. You want to know if we get turtles here. We don't get turtles. Turtles only live in the sea. And what we get here are tortoises. And tortoises are what we call, they look like turtles, but they live on the land, they don't swim. And then we also get very special things here called terrapins. And terrapins are like turtles, but they live in fresh water, they don't live in salt water. So the turtles that we get in South Africa live off the coast in the sea. And they get leatherback turtles and green hawksbill turtles and different kinds of turtles that come onto the beaches at night and lay their eggs. And then they go back out into the sea. But in this particular area, we get terrapins and we get tortoises. Now, I'm just hoping maybe we'll come around the corner here and see a buffalo. But there are no buffalo here. That is very sad for us. Now, Ryan, it's a very good question you've asked. You've said, is the wildebeest in the buffalo family? Ryan, a wildebeest is not in the buffalo family. They're not too far away from each other. It's actually more closely related to the antelopes. So although it looks a bit like a buffalo, it's not actually what we call a bovid. It's what we call an antelope. But it does look like a buffalo, and I remember when I first started working in the bush, it was difficult for me to know the difference between a buffalo and the wildebeest. But if you see them standing next to each other, Ryan, you will never make the mistake. They look very different when they're standing next to each other. Nath, you're worried about being attacked, and has any animal ever attacked me? No, I've never been hit by an animal. I've had many animals warn me, though, and tell me to go away. And animals here don't do a lot of attacking of people. They're normally very afraid of people, and so if they do chase you, they're chasing you because they are afraid of you. There are some buffalo right there. Hooray. Here we go, Darby. There are some buffaloes. And they're lying in the mud. And I know lots of you will love playing in the mud. And unlike you, these buffalo don't have to go and have a bath and then have supper and go to bed. They can just lie in the mud as long as they want to. They like to do that because it's cool and it's comfortable and it helps them to get rid of ticks and other things that sit on their bodies and make them sick. So the mud is a very important part of a buffalo's life. Isn't that nice? So no animals haven't attacked me. There have been a number of animals that have warned me and told me to get out of the way because they have felt afraid by me. And that's the same for just about every animal in the world. If you make an animal afraid enough, it will eventually chase you and tell you to go away. Very, 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 very few animals in the world will try and attack a human being to eat it. A polar bear is one, a crocodile is another, but otherwise very few. Look at this old bull. See how much mud he's got on him. Does he look happy? Oh dear, that buffalo's making an enormous poop. Shiloh May, you want to know if I hear loud noises in the night here? Sometimes we do. It's never silent, and in summer, especially after lots of rain, there are frogs and insects crawling all through the night. But we hear these sounds, and we get used to them. It's the same way that if you live on a busy road, you get used to the sound of the traffic after a while, and you don't worry about the sound of the traffic. Sometimes at night, though, you will hear buffaloes bellowing or being attacked by lions or that sort of thing. And Rihanna, we're just going to move down into this little drainage line here. Hopefully, there was a female leopard around there earlier today. We'll just see if we can't quickly spot her before it gets too dark. Rihanna, you want to know what kind of Jeep this is? It is a bit ew and gross, isn't it, what those buffalo do? They're not very clean with that sort of stuff. But of course, it's just grass, their poop. And so it's not that gross at all, really. It's just chewed up grass. This kind of Jeep is called a Land Rover, Rihanna. And it's a short Land Rover, it's a small one. And I'm sure you've got lots of what we call Discoveries driving around the United States. And it's a bit like a Discovery, or you've probably got Jeep Wranglers. It's about the same size as a Jeep Wrangler. But it isn't a Jeep, it's what we call a Land Rover. So I'm just going to ask Dave to... Dave, if you would mind just pointing your camera down towards where those people are sitting, we'll just see if we can't see the leopard in there. Christian, you want to know what kind of animal the buffaloes eat. Christian, buffaloes don't eat animals. Buffaloes are like big cows. And Christian, you know what cows eat, don't you? They eat grass. No, we can't see the leopard. The leopard is there where those people are, off to the right-hand side of their vehicle. So they're very lucky they're looking at a leopard. But we did see a leopard earlier. So let's carry on. Ryan, you say, why are buffaloes so fat? Buffaloes aren't fat. They're just big. They're like a gridiron football player. If you think of a gridiron football player, he might look fat to you, but if he takes his shirt off, he's not fat at all. He's got big muscles. And that's what a buffalo's got. None of the animals out here are fat. You know, only one of the only animals in the whole world that gets fat is a human being. The rest of the animals, they don't eat enough to get fat. And they eat grass all day, so it's very difficult for them to get fat, but they get lots and lots of big, powerful muscles. That's why they look like they're a bit fat. And Kiara, buffalo... Kiara, have you ever played in mud? I'm sure you have, and I'm sure you enjoyed it. So you want to know why buffaloes bath in mud. Well, Kiara, buffaloes bath in mud because they like it. It feels nice on their skin. When they're hot, they can cool down in the mud. And also, they get ticks. And I don't know if you know what ticks are. You do get ticks there in the United States. And they sit on the skin and they bite you. And buffaloes get lots of ticks. And so they like to get in the mud because the mud suffocates the ticks and kills the ticks, and then the ticks fall off. So that's why they lie in the mud all day. And Eli, you want to know about geysers? We don't have geysers, or probably as you call them, geysers. We don't have geysers here, no. Not in this particular area, but we do have a few in the country. There are some up in a place called Bella Bella, which is about, what did we say? Say about 350 miles from here, off to the west. We've got geysers there. And any other, we've actually got something in a place called Butt Glass, which is not too far, about maybe 150 miles from here. So there are a few places where there are geysers, but not like the ones that you have in Yellowstone. I don't think they're anything like as powerful or as spectacular as those ones that you have there. What a very clever question. Thank you for that. Now you can see it's getting dark, so what we'll start to do is we'll start to put the lights on. And Dominic, you want to know if we've ever seen lions before? Yes, lots of times. We see lions very often, and I'm hoping to see some tonight. But lions, of course, move very big distances, and so they won't always be on this little piece of land that we drive on. But with any luck, we'll spot them moving later on. Oh, and Shyla May, you want to know if I've ever seen a wolf pack before. And I haven't, you know, but I really want to see wolves. We don't get wolves here, Shyla. We get something called an African painted wolf, which is a very beautiful animal and my favorite animal out here. We definitely find them here, but I really want to see a wolf pack in the wild. And one day I hope that I'll be able to travel to Yellowstone and see wolves there. That would be wonderful. Ooh, Jacob, very good question. What kind of owls do we have? What I'm going to do is drive up to the top of this road here, and we'll stop, and I'll show you the pictures of the owls. And while we do that, we'll just listen to the sounds of the night beginning, and maybe we'll even hear an owl calling. Let's just drive to the top of the hill here, and I'll show you some owl pictures. And we'll see if we can hear the sounds of a few of them. Just want to get out of this very thick area. And Eli, you want to know if we use a different money system? Yes, absolutely we do. You use dollars and cents. We use something called a rand. A rand and cents. And it works the same way, where you've got 100 cents in a rand, same as you've got 100 cents in a dollar. Our rand, of course, we have to pay 14 rand to get 1 American dollar. Can you believe it? 14 rand. And that's because many adults in the world do very complicated things, some of which make our rand not so valuable anymore. Right, I'm going to just stop in the clearing up ahead here. And Eli, of course, we do use a very different system of measurement. We use what we call the metric system. And only you in the United States and the folk in the United Kingdom use what we call the imperial system. We use things like meters and kilometers and kilograms and grams. And you use feet and miles, which we don't use here. And you measure your temperature in Fahrenheit and not in Celsius, which is what we do. All right, let's just have a stop here. You can look at the beautiful view of the mountains off to the west there, while I find some pictures of owls to show you. And just listen very carefully and see if you can't hear an owl or two calling. Isn't that beautiful, isn't it, Dave? Breathtaking. That's the end of what we call the Drakensberg, everybody. I'm just trying to find you the owls quickly in this book. There, I did actually hear an owl, but I think it was too far for you to hear. It was a pearl-spotted owl going... Right, here's some of the owls. Right, we actually get lots of owls here. So we get the African wood owl is possibly found here. We definitely get a barn owl. You may well find barn owls where you are. They seem to be found in most parts of the world. There's a grass owl. We get that one too. Then we get all of these ones on this page. That's a tiny little owl called a scops owl, about 6 inches long. This is called a white-faced scops owl, and he's about 12 inches long. And the pearl-spotted owl is the one you just heard going, also about 8 inches. And the barred owl, which is also 8 inches, tiny little things. And here are the big guys. There's the biggest owl that we get here, the giant or Verreaux's eagle owl. That's 2 feet tall, 2 and a bit feet tall. Pretty large. And then just below that, the spotted eagle owl, which is just over about 1.5 feet tall. So we got lots and lots of different kinds of owls. And then we don't find this one specifically here, but we find it in the Sabi Sands not too far from here. A very, very, very special owl. It's a fish-catching owl called the Pell's fishing owl. You see, it likes to hunt over the water, and it catches fish. Now, this is my favorite time of day, everybody, because everything is quiet, and everything is beautiful, and everything is still. And it's just so very special to watch the golden light on the horizon there. Kiara, you want to know what the time is here? It's about 5:45 in the evening. 5:45 in the evening, and we're in autumn, so we're in fall, what you would call fall. You're in spring, and we're in fall. It's 5:45 here, so I imagine over there it must be about 11:45. Pretty, hey? Alrighty, let's carry on. Austin, you want to know the cardinals in South Africa? Let me just, before I put this book away, there aren't any cardinals, but there's something similar called an oriole. In fact, an oriole is not similar to a cardinal. It's sort of similar. I don't think it's in the same family, though. I'll just quickly show you a picture of an oriole. I saw a cardinal when I was in the United States, and I thought it was the best-looking bird I'd ever seen. I suppose that's something a little bit like a cardinal, although a cardinal is more orange, I think, than yellow, isn't it? So we don't get cardinals here. And there'll be lots of families of birds that you get there in the United States that don't occur here. Isn't that nice? It's called an oriole. Righty. We're going to drive now with the spotlight and see if we can find anything here. Jacob, you want to know what kind of bats we have. Jacob, we have lots and lots of different kinds of bats. Many of them are very difficult to find, but we have vespa bats, we have free-tailed bats, we have fruit bats, we have tomb bats, we have... I'm leaving one other kind of bat out. I don't know. Most of them eat insects, and of course the cleverest thing about a bat is that it finds its food using radar. If you can believe it. You believe that? I don't know if you know what radar is, but it's a very clever... Sorry, I'm just going to move things around a bit so I can get my spotlight out. Radar is where an animal uses sound instead of their eyes. So they use their ears, basically, to find prey to eat, which is a very clever thing to be able to do, I think. But we don't get vampire bats. Lots of people think that vampire bats occur all over the place, especially in Africa. But you only get vampire bats down in South America. Christian, you want to know if owls eat anything other than fish? Yes, absolutely, they do. The only owl that eats fish is the Pell's fishing owl. And so the rest of them don't eat fish, Christian. The rest of them eat things like, well, I mean, let's take the scops owl, which is that very little one. They eat mostly insects, things like that. And then you'll get the biggest one like the giant eagle owl, which eats what we call scrub hares, which are sort of like rabbits. They will eat mongoose. They might even eat very small antelope. So they eat absolutely everything. Some will eat insects and lizards. Some will eat frogs. Some will eat rats and mice. The barn owl, I'm sure you know, eats rats and mice. It's only the Pell's fishing owl that's clever enough to eat fish. Oh, Rihanna. Rihanna, you're saying, what time do we get up in the morning to start getting ready for drive? 4:30 in the morning, Rihanna, if you can believe it. Isn't that early? It's dark. It's this time of year, it's not too cold, but in winter it'll be very cold. So we jump out of the bed at about 4:30, have a quick cold shower. Well, some of us have a cold shower, and then we have a nice hot cup of coffee, and then we go out into the dawn, where the light is very similar to this, but obviously the sun's coming up from the east, and it's a beautiful, beautiful time of the day. And I know it's difficult to get up very early in the morning, but if you can make yourself do it, it's just the best time of day. All right, chaps, from Glenwood Elementary School in Virginia Beach, Virginia, we're going to say goodbye to you, Mrs. Kennedy, or Miss Kennedy and Mrs. Altman. We will see you at another time, I hope. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm sure you're about to go and have lunch. Enjoy your lunch and enjoy the springtime, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye. Right, everybody, we're still going along. We've got another 40 minutes or so. We'll see what the night brings us. This will be one of the last very sort of darkish nights that we do, well, until it gets into midwinter, because on the 1st of May, we'll be shifting the time half an hour. I think we're going to get some amazing stars tonight, and we've got this new camera with us, so when the stars start to peep out, we'll start to see if we can see some of the different constellations that we get here, and I think that would be marvelous. Very quiet on the elephant front at the moment. Thank you, Barbara, for your comments / admonition or admonishment. You say the only similarity between a cardinal and an oriole is that they are both birds. Thank you. Thank you for that, Barbara. Fair enough. I did see a cardinal in North Carolina once. In Winston-Salem. Thank you, Barbara. I've got to tell you, you've got to stay sharp taking these drives. People watching these drives are no mugs when it comes to the wild. Rebecca, you say that I said hail comes from the ground. Rebecca, if I did say that, it must have been a moment of utter delusion. I don't think that hail comes from the ground. I'm not sure. I'm not sure why I said hail comes from the ground. How very strange. No, hail doesn't come from the ground. It comes from the clouds. Maybe I said cloud very unclearly. Or maybe I just went mad briefly. That's quite possible. I'm obviously now extremely distressed that the final control took it upon themselves to laugh behind sniggering hands, while the children thought I thought hail came from the ground. Thank you, Rebecca in final control and Kirsten in final control. I will not be fetching you after this drive. You can walk home and face the hippos on your own. Oh, no. It's not, Dave, it's not. I thought it was a chameleon. Darlene, I think you're in New Hampshire, and you ask a question to which I do not know the answer, especially as I seem to think that hail comes out of the ground. You say, is there any real reason why birds have different color eyes, and do we know what that function is? I'm pretty sure that someone will know what that function is. I do not know what that function is, but it's a very good question. So, I mean, even birds like the spotted eagle owl's got yellow eyes, the Cape eagle owl's got orange eyes, the giant eagle owl's got black eyes, and so I don't know why, you know, they eat relatively similar things. I don't know why they should have different colored eyes. I'm sure there's a reason, but I don't know what it is. I feel like I should know what it is. So anybody who does know what it is, please feel free to tell me. And indeed, feel free to tell me where hail comes from. If it doesn't come from the ground. Dave, did you know that hail doesn't come from the ground?
I do now.
You do now, but you also thought it came from the ground, did you? Yeah. See, Dave and I both thought hail came from the ground. It's the most beautiful horizon. Look at that color there. Elaine from Kentucky, you want to know about salt and where the animals get their salt from. Do they get it from salt licks? No, we don't put salt licks out. We have put one or two out from time to time on quarantine clearings. Look at that color, it's unbelievable. But Elaine, we don't do it sort of as a matter of course. Animals get salt from the soil. They eat quite a lot of soil, actually. It's called geophagia. Basically means eating the earth. I'm going to stop here and I'm going to show you the mountains again because I want to look at them. Oh, too pretty. David, it might be time for one of my absolutely amazing photographs.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Pity those who have to look at it. We have to turn the lights off. There we go. Oh, it's going to be a classic, everyone. It's going to feature on National Geographic without question. There we go. Isn't that stunning? And I think it's indicative of how much dust there is in the air. That it's so red. It shouldn't be that red. Very, very pretty indeed. My poor mother, of course, who will be subjected to a slideshow the next time I see her, will have to ask me the question again. Do you ever take pictures of anything other than the sun? To which the answer will be not very often. Oh, Davey, here we go. It's going to be a good one. No, it's not. It's horrible. No, I'm not showing you that one, everyone. It's too ugly. Let's go to Buffelshoek Dam and see what's going on there, and then we'll start to have a peep at the stars. I'm driving with the wrong cameraman tonight, aren't I? James Bear, you want to know if me or any of the crew believe in UFOs? James, I wouldn't discount the presence of UFOs. I wouldn't discount the presence of alien life forms throughout the universe. Have I ever seen one myself? No, I don't believe that I have. Bryan, who is quite into that sort of thing, he's taken a remarkable video of these strange things going past the sun. So he's fully into that sort of stuff. Do we report them? No, I mean, there's no one to report them to really here. We don't. The government doesn't seem to be particularly interested in anything other than feeding at the trough. So telling them about the odd UFO flying over, excuse me, would probably not result in anything too well, it wouldn't result in any kind of response at all. Dave, you seen any UFOs?
Also have it.
But I certainly wouldn't discount it, James, but there's not a big sort of movement around here to spot them. But Bryan is the guy who knows all about South African UFOs and where they're seen and that sort of thing. We'll ask him next time you're on drive with him. I'm sure he'll tell you about it. Bryan the Thumb, aka UFO. We're going to head towards Beefelshoek Dam now, like I say, see what's there, and then when it gets sufficiently dark, we'll start having a look at the night sky. I do desperately need to get one of those laser pointers so that I can point out what we're looking at. Oh, that horizon is just something exceptional. Maybe we'll find Mvula at Beefelshoek Dam. I say that every time we come down here, in the vain hope that the old boy will be around. Raisa, you want to know if the Table Mountain in Cape Town is part of the Drakensberg? I mean, my initial reaction is to say no, definitely not. But I think you may well find that it was formed by the same geological movement that formed the Drakensberg many million years ago. Officially, no, it's not. Was it formed by the same geological movement? It could have been. Do you know, Dave?
No, I don't.
I don't think it is, right? So I'm going to say no. I mean, it's certainly not part of the Drakensberg. Was it formed by the same geological upheaval many millions of years ago? I don't know. I don't think so, though. I mean, it's certainly not contiguous with the Drakensberg at all. So the Drakensberg stretches basically from those mountains you've just seen there down towards the left of your screens when you were looking at the mountains by about 600 miles, 600 to 700 miles. And then they kind of peter out. And then sort of in the Eastern Cape Highlands. And then you get the deserts and the Karoo, and there's not a huge escarpment there. And then you do get into the mountains of the Cedarberg, which Sam will tell you about, and then Table Mountain towards Cape Town. So I'm going to say no, I don't think that they are part of the same geological upheaval. Nice question, thank you, Raisa, all the way from Finland. Raisa, please will you send us a report on the weather conditions in Finland at the moment? I'm sure after a very lengthy winter, you must be quite pleased with the state of the weather at this stage. Nothing going on here at Beefelshoek Dam, everyone. I'm not going to stop. Let's just keep going. Much dust. Much dust. Right, you may lose us as we go down past the dam, but we are in Rusty, so maybe you won't. We might be lucky. Mike in Florida, we were chatting about weather conditions with the kiddies earlier on. You want to know if we get sandstorms in the Sabi Sands? No, not at all. It's not enough sand, really, I don't think. And the wind does never really blow that strongly. So while it might get quite dusty every so often, we certainly don't get anything like sandstorms. Ooh, that dust has got right in my nose, David, right in my nose. I'm going to start sneezing any second now. Right, we're going north out onto the Beefelshoek cut line. And we'll see what we can find there. And if there are no aminals, we will look at the stars. which will shortly be very magnificent indeed. Rebecca, how much time do we have left? I just want to not stop too late. 24 minutes, okay. I want 15 minutes to look at the stars. So we'll drive back towards quarantine clearings. I think we'll probably stop there. Just get up this difficult spot. And I believe you're all laughing at my hail comment. Yes, I don't find it quite so funny. I'm deeply hurt that I thought hail came from the ground and nobody agreed with me. There are going to be children rushing home all over Virginia Beach saying to their parents that Africans think hail comes out of the ground. And their parents are going to be going, tut tut, poor Africans. Which is my fault. Hello, lion person. It's a very interesting Twitter handle you have. Lion person, you want to know if we change our clocks for winter? We don't. The difference in day and night here is nothing like what it is, I'm assuming, here in the US or in the UK or somewhere like that. It just doesn't, the difference doesn't warrant it. You could do it in Cape Town. Cape Town, because they're that much further south, the difference in day length does vary a bit more than it does here. But for example, here, so, I mean, we're just after 6 o'clock, it's dark. And in winter, in the depths of winter, it'll be dark by 5:30. But in summer, it's only dark, you know, it's less than an hour and a half's difference. So it'll be dark sort of just after 7 o'clock in this particular part of the world. So daylight savings doesn't really, we could do it, but it doesn't make nearly as much sense as it does in Europe or in the UK or in America. So I don't think anywhere in Africa does it. If I'm not mistaken, nowhere in Africa has daylight savings, because most of it is too close to the equator for it to make an appreciable difference. And Raisa in Finland says it's overcast and 8 degrees Celsius, and by May it will be a whopping 12 degrees Celsius, and you'll be going into the springtime. That's pretty much winter for here, I suppose. But Raisa, please keep us posted as the months go by, because I'm fascinated by weather in different parts of the world, especially in Scandinavia, where it's just very chilly and very dark for a substantial proportion of the year. "12 degrees in May." It'll be about 12 degrees in May here, too, on the very coldest days. Right, we're making our way towards quarantine clearings, where we should get a nice view of the stars. And I'll show you what I know, and you can maybe ask me things. Oh, look what I found, David. Look, I'm a genius. There's a chameleon, everybody. Let me turn this light onto it. There we go. There he is. Flat-necked chameleon. I'm not really a genius. He stands out like a sore thumb when you put the spotlight on him. He's lurking, hiding behind the green bushes, green leaves of a silver cluster leaf. No, he's not. He's on a combretum. He's on a red bush willow. Isn't that nice? Oh, super zoom in. Good job. They all have that yellow stripe down the side, everyone. It's the only species of chameleon we get here, sadly. I'm not sure why it's sad, but it is the only species we get here. How perfectly neatly his prehensile tail has been folded up for his snooze. Just imagine for a second, if you will, the coordination required and the sort of ligament and tendon and muscle coordination required to hang on to a branch that thin, go to sleep and remain completely motionless for the night. I think it's absolutely incredible. So sweet. Alrighty, on we go. We had a question about hyenas and if they're active mostly in day or night. Definitely at night. Hyenas are a nocturnal predator. And that question, unsurprisingly, comes from someone called Hyena Channel. Alrighty. We'll go down Mvubur. No, we won't. We'll go down... Oh, only 18 minutes to close. We can drive a bit quicker. Ten minutes will probably be enough for our stars. You can still see just the dying embers of the day as we head west up Bivels of Cutline. Maybe we'll see Gijima along here. Since Viam and Sam found Gijima the leopard along this road, so Viam has insisted that every time he goes on drive, we now drive Bivels of Cutline because Gijima is now Viam's leopard of choice. Yes, absolutely, Sean from Secunda, we will definitely do that. We're going to look at Jupiter and see if we can find the moons again. I'm just going to let it get a little bit darker. Yeah, I mean, when we stop now and turn all the lights off, it'll be pretty dark. So we'll just get to quarantine and then we'll do exactly that. And while I do that, I'm just going to ask somebody to look up, if you don't mind, a very accurate last count of Jupiter's moons. Because I got the figure of 10 the other day, and I don't think that's correct. I think they're more than that. Right, let's go down Mvubu Road, which means Hippopotamus Road. Quite cool in the dip here, Dave. Freezing, isn't it? It's dropped to about 22 degrees Celsius. Thank you very much. We've got a count of 67 moons. I think it is something else ridiculous like that. Unbelievable. So we can see 3 of them, everyone. We're going to be able to see 3 through this brilliant camera. I can see Jupiter above us. So we'll just get onto a flat spot and then we'll have a look-see. And drive slightly faster. I don't want to not have enough time for it to get there. But I suppose you can always join us tomorrow night. And we will, when I next go on leave, I'm definitely going to go and get a pointer. Safari Dean, you want a useful Shangaan phrase for the day. I'm not sure I can teach you a useful one. How about I teach you one that is relevant to the day, such as Swateka Gukuma Sihari. It is difficult to find the animals. Swateka, that means it is hard. Swateka Gukuma, to find. Gukuma, Swateka Gukuma Sihari. Sihari, animals. Sihari. Swihari. Swateka Gukuma Swihari. There we go. Safari Dean. Swateka Gukuma Swihari. Yes. That's a great... I'm not sure how useful it is, like I say, but it's quite a good term for today. I'll teach you one more, and this one is Ilava Guvona Tingwana. Ilaguvona Tingwana. We want to see the little leopards. Ilaguvona tingwana. Ilaguvona tingwana. So you can say that around your homes now. You can walk about the place saying to each other, yeah, ilaguvona tingwana. Swihari, swateka go kuma swihari. Mari ilaguvona tingwana. Okay, everyone got it? Dave, you got it?
I think so.
Okay. Alrighty. Just gonna pop across the damn wall, man, and then we'll be in a position to look at the stars. Oh, Bob, you say Jupiter's got 50 moons and 17 provisional moons. What in the blazes is a provisional moon, Bob? I wonder if our moon is provisional or real. Hold on tight, everybody. Move your dentures out. Oh, goodness. It's dreadful. David, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Something of a swamp formed in the middle of the road there a time back. Oh, a provisional moon is apparently an asteroid, so not quite a moon, maybe. Temporarily considered a moon. I'd hate to be known as a provisional moon. Must feel so emasculating to be known as a provisional moon. It's like being known as a provisional man. I do know some provisional men. Right, we're arriving now at the Juma Dam, over which we shall trundle, and then on to the Orientan clearings for the great star examination with the X150, sorry. David? Z150. Right, Z150, thank you. You've got all the controls, have you? James Richard, nice question. What's the Shangaan word for moon and sun? The moon is Nyanga. Nyanga, N-Y-A-N-G-A, Nyanga. And the sun is Jambo. It's a lovely word, Jambo. And the stars, Tinyeleti. One star, Nyeleti. Many stars, Tinyeleti. And we'll just get out of the way of the lodge here, and then we'll go and look at the Tinyeleti. Get out of the way, rabbit. The rabbit has moved. It wasn't a rabbit, it was a hare, of course, sitting in the road, gormlessly looking about the place, about to be eaten, no doubt, by a giant eagle owl. My skill with the spotlight is exceptional. One chameleon in 700 miles. Okay. Feels like it's taken forever to get here, David. All right. We're on quarantine. I think we'll stop about here. Let's kill all the lights. And what we'll find is that the stars will suddenly emerge. Davy. There is Jupiter there behind us. We'll just try... Oh, you got it. Straight away. Straight onto Jupiter. Right, now let's try and zoom in as far as we can, and we'll see if we can see the moons. Why'd you kill that light? Sorry. There we go. Just making sure that is Jupiter. Although I don't see any moons. Hold on a sec. No, that's definitely Jupiter. Is that as far in as we can get? It's really distressing that we can't see the moons yet. No moons tonight. That's very odd. Just make sure that, or ask the final control to check what other planets there are in the sky at the moment. I mean, we saw the moon so clearly last time. No, that's fine. Might not have risen yet. No, I mean, I'm 90% sure that's what it is. All right, that's Jupiter, everyone. Let's try now to have a look at the Southern Cross, which is behind us. Can you see it there, Dave? It's basically 180 degrees from where you are now. So everybody, just excuse the jumping. The frame rate is very, what did we say? Not frame rate, the very low frame rate.
Yep.
So that's why it's jumping a bit. So you will see stars swinging past now. Keep going, Dave. That's it there. So, okay. We might have to move slightly. Sorry, everybody. Hang on one sec. You should be able to get it now. There we go. Just zoom all the way out, if you don't mind. Unless you can see it. There we go. That's it there. Stop there. Out a bit more, if you can. You max out. Okay, there's the cross. Top left-hand corner of your... Stop there. Top left-hand corner of your screen is the cross. Now, it's those four stars that are very obvious there in a kite shape that is facing sort of towards the bottom right of your screen. Now, Dave, if you just tilt down slightly, down a bit, keep going, a little bit left. There, stop. A little bit left just in case it's being cut off. There, those two stars there are the 2 pointers, Alpha and Beta Centauri. Now, the way you find south is to take a perpendicular bisector between those two stars. So basically you draw a line between them, draw a perpendicular line sort of in the middle of the line between those two stars, and draw it out straight towards the right-hand side of your screen. Then you go back up to the cross. Move it up to the cross, Dave. Tilt up a bit. There's the cross. Yep, that's fine. And then you take the long axis of the cross, so the star to the far left-hand corner, down towards the one on the sort of right-hand side of the cross, and you draw a line all the way through there and all the way along. And where the line of that and the perpendicular bisector between the 2 pointers meets is celestial south, which means that if when we had a south star, like you've got a north star, that's where it would be. And then you drop to the horizon, and that, everybody, is how you find south. Then, Davy, we can have a good look at Orion's belt, and I made a horrible mistake the other night. It's straight up there in front of us.
Got him.
You got him?
Yeah.
So, it's like being at a planetarium, everyone. There he is. Look, you can get the whole hunter in there. Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, it's perfect. Stop there. That's the whole hunter. So, top or bottom, sort of the reddish star, is shoulder, Betelgeuse. The belt stars, the 3 belt stars you can see in the middle of the screen. Then that kind of obvious, well, semi-obvious group of stars pointing up towards the left-hand corner. That is the sword. And then the very bright star, the very brightest star there, the bluish one, is called not Aldebaran, which is what I called it last time. It's Rigel, or Rigel. and that is the knee. Those are the two knees. You can see the two knees of Orion the hunter, the two shoulders, Betelgeuse in the other one, and his belt. And that is Orion the hunter, very, very famous in Egyptian mythology, of course. Just see if you can zoom in on Betelgeuse there, Dave. Let's see if we can get that kind of deep red color. There it is. Now, it's red, of course, because it is a red giant. Now, I very hurriedly went through the description of what a red giant is the other day. Now, I'm going to have to sit very still because, of course, the closer in... Oh, look at that color. Hey? It makes you feel like you're in the universe. What grief, David. That's amazing. So that red that you can see is because the star... Oh, wow. What is that? Are you just changing the focus?
It's just the focus.
That's amazing. So that red color comes from the fact that that star is in the dying phases of its life. It's much bigger than our sun, at least 4 times the size of our sun, and it's called a red giant. I think it's probably a lot more than 4 times the size, but that's potentially how big it is.
Should we try Jupiter again?
Yeah, we can try Jupiter again.
I think it's just behind us.
Okay. You don't think that was what we were looking at? Where are you looking? Was that not what we were looking at? Oh, okay. Okay, we did have the wrong one. So while Dave goes to Jupiter, I'll just tell you about a red giant. Remember, all stars are hydrogen atoms, basically, going into helium atoms through the process of nuclear fusion. And, I mean, they give out that massive amount of energy, as described by Einstein's very famous equation E equals mc squared. But as the hydrogen burns up to helium, so those reactions become less and less, and the star becomes redder as the energy it gives off becomes less. So the red star is giving off less energy than a blue or blue to white star. There are the moons. Well done, Darby. There they are, jumping around like a jack in a box. There's Jupiter, everyone. Oh, that's great. I'm assuming that the 3 moons we can see are not, in fact, what were they called? Proto-moons. What were they? Provisional moons. Those are real moons. So you can see 2, and then just behind the one, I don't know what the resolution on your screen is like, but just behind the one on the right-hand side, you can see another one. That is so awesome. That is just fantastic. So that's Jupiter. So just back to the red giant. It's giving off less energy than a white star like our sun, and that helium will eventually, the star will eventually collapse under its own weight, and the helium will form even heavier elements. And that is how we think the heavier elements of the world, for example, carbon, which we are made of, were formed. Isn't that lovely? Brilliant. Just brilliant. All right, and we'll show you one more thing. Am I still plugged in here? Rebecca, are you talking to me or are you not talking? Oh, I'm not even plugged in, no wonder.
1 minute to close.
1 minute to close, good grief. Hang on, everybody. I've lost my earpiece. Good grief, I'm waffling. I'll be waffling on until next year. Okay, I'm back in, Rebecca. All right, look at the moons now. You can still see them there. All right, I wanted to show you Sirius, but we won't show you Sirius tonight. We'll save that for another night. We'll have many nights of stars going forward. All right, everyone, thank you very much for joining me, and a big thank you to David for putting up with me, and Sam for, of course, going home early with his sore ear, and big thanks to Rebecca and Kirsten in the final control, and all of you for your questions and comments and great conversation. We'll see you in the morning at 6 o'clock. Until then, stay safe.